Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. This one is dated year 2, blog 38, or in legacy numbers, blog 90, and it's dated 12th of November 2023. And I say it every week, but my God, it just seems to be that we're getting faster and faster through the weeks. It won't be long now before we'll be sitting around a table stuffing ourselves with turkey because Christmas is here. But that's a horrible thing really to think about for a number of us. So we won't sort of like dwell on that too much. We'll get cracking, I think. Probably the best thing. I'll talk a little bit about my week during the blog. We'll get the news out the way. I don't like the news. It's there just for a date stamp. In fact, really, you can sort of like just skip that if you wish, because it's really just to tell you sort of like what was going on in the week and therefore what my mind might have been like. It date stamps this, it puts authenticity to when this was recorded. So we start off with the war, and it states that big explosions heard in first major Russian attack on Kiev in months. Big explosions were heard in Kiev in the first major attack on the city since September. No major statistics are listed, but Russian forces and unknown forces seem to be at a stalemate. An official stated this was because both forces were unable to replenish supplies quickly at this start of the war. So yeah, it looks very much like resources are now becoming an issue as one side starts to take control. They run out of resources. They can't get the resources quick enough to maintain that. That's when the other side have their stock, continue their attack, and it ends up a stalemate. I think money will come into this as we keep going forward. It depends on the help of other nations. We all know, my thoughts on this, that this should never have happened. It's affecting the world. It was the wrong thing to fight over. We thought it was all done and dusted. So, I always feel that Ukraine are in the right. And my thoughts on that will never change. Now, when it comes to the UK news, again, like many other weeks, there seems to be lots and lots of little bits that have taken up quite a bit of time when I've watched the news or read it in the newspapers. So I've just sort of like bullet pointed it really and not got into any great detail. So let's start with it's Remembrance Sunday. And the king is to lead the 2-minute silence. Yesterday, the police protection was heavy around the Cenotaph monument after the pro-Palestine protests on Saturday. So, yeah, with Remembrance Sunday, there will be the displaying of the wreaths, heavy police presence. That's because of other things that are going on, and that was the pro-Palestine protest, which had thousands of people in London yesterday. Of that protest, over 126 arrests happened, and from what I could read, it said over half of them were football hooligans, which were clarified as the fact that they were known to the police. So of the 126 plus, as they were booked, it came clear that a lot of it were joiners in to cause problems, football hooligans, and they already got a record for it. And if that's over half, my God, it just shows that as much as a peaceful protest wants to be peaceful, you have no control. And if you broadcast as publicly as this particular protest was, you're going to have others joining in that want to make a name for themselves. Sad, but true. Then there was shouts for the First Minister Suella Braverman to resign after the wording used in an interview on the BBC. Yes, I think she called protesters haters in an interview. Some politicians then turned around and said the meaning was there, but the wording shouldn't have been as it was, and it wasn't apparently authorised by government to have that interview, and the wording used wasn't checked over. As far as I'm concerned, if you just like this, which is totally unscripted, it's just got some notes, that your natural vocabulary comes through and probably shows more about that person. Take that as you will. And apparently Gordon Ramsay has welcomed his 6th child into the world. Good for him at the age of 57. Like I say, it's not like he's not short of a few bob, so it's not exactly like the child will go wanting for anything. So that really is the end of the news. Thank God for that, because there's rarely anything in it that makes people smile. And like I say, I use it as a date stamp. We get to the more pleasant stuff, really, and that's things like the shout-outs. Now, you know I like the shout-outs. The shout-outs are there because there are people out there that wish me well, that want my blog to be well, and they make me feel wanted, needed. And sometimes your quality of life really does deteriorate because you feel you're not wanted or needed. So, without ado, these are the people that have left comments or wished me well. They are Martroid, Paul Patrick, LFC Gamer and Vlogs, Seb's Place, David's Retro Games Played Badly, Gaming Since the 70s, Denny Haynes, and Down the Rabbit Hole. To all of those people, thank you. But to all of you out there, thank you as well. I mean, you watch this, and I hope it gives some thought or some enjoyment. Just listening to me blabber on about what my opinion is of something, what I've been watching this week, that sort of thing. We get to know each other through questions. So, you know, I value anybody that asks them. So we'll move into some of those comments right now. I'll just have a little sip of drink. My throat's a little bit raspy today. Suffered a bit of a cold during the week. Okay, so these are in no particular order. Hopefully they're all there. And we start off with LFC Gamer and Vlogs. And he says, excellent showcase as usual, Del. Hope all is well for both yourself and your mum. The 12-hour stream with Mainmeister was brilliant. You did superb as co-host. Love the lineup. Jeff Minter and Giles provided great company and full of anecdotes that made my side split in half. Absolute legends. Which the same can be said for all the guests. It really made my Sunday. Yes. If people aren't aware by now, this time last week, I was part of a 12-hour stream, which actually ended up being 13 and a half hours. Now, I was very tired at the end. I was lucky to have Monday off from work, and I needed it. Like, by God, it was a really weird thing, because at the end of the stream, I still didn't feel tired to go to bed. I don't know what that is. I think maybe that's adrenaline. I did all that I could. I mean, basically, I was just in the background to help my friend. If I could get him some money, brilliant. I was posting up um, updates, like about the auction and links to where the games could be downloaded from that were in the stream, that sort of thing. A backup. Really, it was Mainmeister's thing. It was Mainmeister's idea. It was his wanting to do something for charity, and he wanted close friends to help him out. And even watchers that were watching that particular broadcast were helping. If you weren't there, it was a disaster. There are all those things that go on in your head. What if my internet goes down? What if this feed doesn't come in? What if people keep dropping connection and coming back in? How much of this will put people off watching? I think a lot of people are a lot more charitable than that. They are far more forgiving for something that's a charity. And most of the stuff can't be helped. So I had some great fun. Most of the things that I wanted to do didn't get done, but they weren't through lack of trying. I remember that a friend of mine said, "Oh, if you do speak to Richard Lionfellow from Cauldron, can you get him to sign something with maybe a header from the Evil Dead? Because there's a friend of ours that has a huge collection of Evil Dead and hasn't got his signature." And unfortunately, even though Richard was on screen and totally agreed, he doesn't have a colour printer and he doesn't have any inlays or Evil Dead memorabilia around. So all he could do was take snippets of things that he had around, which is mostly digital. Like he had a digital inlay of the Commodore 64's tape version of the Evil Dead, and then sign a little white block in the bottom right hand corner and send it as a PDF. Trouble with a collector is that printed media with a signature is no proof that and nothing solid that person did it. If you can actually see that felt tip is on top of something. Do you see what I mean? Silver pen, all of that sort of stuff. A photograph of seeing you doing it, all of that sort of stuff. So that didn't happen. And then obviously when interviews are going on, the flow of interviews, you tend to not get carried away, but a question will then get answered, which will then ask another question that will then get answered. And of course, one of my heroes is Jeff Minter. It was the one that I had a few questions to ask, but the flow was going so well that I didn't get really chance to say, interrupt and say, can I ask a couple of questions? And that's nobody's fault. That's just how it is. It happened at the Zap event. I met him outside, was having a chat, but then, as people that I was driving home mentioned, we need to get going because it'll be quite late at night if we don't start moving. And of course, there's long travels for them the next day. Like I say, as much as you'd like to spend more time, not all the time is that feasible. And I was just happy to be there, and I was happy that I got a couple of questions in. Total thanks to Mainmeister for giving me the opportunity to even participate. Loved it to death. Still, we've got to get back to the rest of the comments, because there is absolutely no negatives at all with that, with the charity stream. Everybody loved it, and I loved it. Thought it was fantastic. If I was asked again, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Some quality pickups you've presented here. It's been a number of years since I last saw House of Wax. Can't recall if I liked it or not. Mind you, I grew up watching a few horror films because my mum is quite the fan of said genre, more so than me. Recently watched Leon the Professional for the first time and adored every minute of it. Could possibly be my favourite Gary Oldman film. Yeah, now, Gary Oldman is a fantastic actor and he's been in some absolute quality films. Quality! I would find it difficult. He's played Churchill. He's been in The Fifth Element. Obviously Leon. The list goes on. And they've all, pretty much as far as I know, made money for Hollywood. So, you know what I mean? I've got quite a huge collection of films, and I would say I haven't got every film that he's been in, but I would say I've got some choice classics in there. Absolutely fantastic. Leon isn't for everybody. I totally understand, that you might need to stand back and see, and understand that this is a tale of a story, and that watching somebody that's like a 12 or 13-year-old girl become an assassin might be uncomfortable, and I would totally agree with that. But to others that can shut that off and just watch a film and a tale for what it is, then it's outstanding. Outstanding film. You've got some questions for me. So, questions for the next blog. What is your favourite alcoholic tipple that isn't beer? Oh, that's easy. Whiskey. I have to be very careful because there was a time where I was alone in Manchester and I drank far too much whiskey by myself, and that can lead down a terribly dark path. But most people that are up in Manchester, my girlfriend and my girlfriend's dad and mother and sister knew whiskey was my tipple. They bought me bottles of Lafroig, Dunwinnie, all the lovely ones. When I used to go out in my youth, the aim of the game was to get blottoed. I didn't mind drinking grouse and bells. I find them a bit coarse, bit of an aftertaste, bit rough. But I would drink those, and if I came across a real pub that had really low branded whiskey, I would put orange juice in it. In fact, actually, here's some orange juice now. It hasn't got any whiskey in it. But that was for the really low brand stuff that they'd charge you for the same price as bells and grouse. I like I do use water with whiskey. You don't dilute it that way. You can't really dilute whiskey. As much as many people will give you a comment to say, well, of course you can. What I'm talking about is in the shot glasses. When you put water in, the alcohol content remains the same, right? If it's 40% volume and you put a bit of water in it, then the alcohol at 40% volume is still 40% volume. And if you drink the whole lot, it's 40% that you drink. Take it like that. Whiskey, then, therefore, is the answer to that one. Cottage pie or shepherd's pie? No. It's a difficult one for me to answer this because if you go into a shop now and look at the frozen section and you see cottage pie or shepherd's pie, I think you'll find that shepherd's pie in Sainsbury's is the one with the minced beef, with vegetables in it. Cottage pie should be, I think, lamb, isn't it? Not sure, but you'll tend to find it's the same type of meat, but it's only got onions in it, with a mashed potato top. Now, I love both. I like lamb. I like minced beef. I tend to find that I'm a very plain person. You know, I just like to eat the meat, and I like to eat the mashed potato top, sometimes with a cheese topping, you know, cheese and mashed potato topping, which is Cumberland pie. And I don't really get on with the vegetables. That's probably because of the vegetables they use. If I make it from scratch, I use proper vegetables, and I do put it in. But if I'm eating something that's processed, I'd rather it not be there. It doesn't taste very nice. And I have to be very careful, because also they put onion in it. And anybody that knows from previous blogs, you will know that onion can cause me problems. And then number 3, I hope that answers that one really. I like both. I think I will go with shepherd's pie over cottage pie. Number 3, have you ever had road rage, or have had road rage directed at you? Both. Been driving for far too many years without it happening. I tend to find I'm quite a normal type driver, and I don't get too frustrated when I'm in a traffic jam. But I am if I'm in a hurry to get somewhere. If I'm going to be letting someone down, if I know that somebody that I was supposed to be picking up, and I know that they're standing in the wet waiting for me, and I'm 10 minutes away because of a traffic jam, then I'm flustered. But I don't start banging my fists on the steering wheel and all this sort of stuff. Now, I'm in a busy street, and I remember a couple of years ago it was 2014, actually. It was before my new car, yeah. This car seemed like it was parked up going towards the lights on my street. And actually, he was just further left than the other cars. And that's because of parked cars, they cause problems. And I didn't realise that he was in the queue, and I went past to the right of him. So I stopped halfway because he looked at me, and I went, oh, hang on a minute, maybe this guy wants to get out. And I went, oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. He got in front of me, and in his wing mirror, he did that to me. And I went, bloody hell, I apologise. So I did that to him as well. Then he got out the car. That's when you know things are getting bad, right? Because he knocked on the window. He says, want to make something of it then, mate? Come on then, get out, come on. And, basically all you can do in those sort of instances is you can either fight or flight. You can get out the car and continue this, but basically there's cars behind you, or you could just let it settle down. And he just sort of like made a comment of, thought so, you fat bastard. He went and walked off. So then the cars, the lights and everything have changed. He's moving forward, and before he gets to the light, I did my stupid thing and just went, yeah, fuck off, and then went round the corner. Now I've never met him again, never seen him again. Don't want to see him. Was I happy with myself? No. But the trouble with that is, I started something and apologised, and then he continued something, and I then got angry, and he then took it one even step further. It's almost like one-upmanship. I've never been pleased with myself for that day. And ever since then, it's just set off your journey a little bit earlier. What else can you say about it? It is what it is, Too much stuff goes on the roads that you don't need that type of aggravation. But people incite it. Like I said, I apologise for the bit that I did at the beginning, but for him to stick his fingers up at me after I apologised? No. That's inciting something. So, anyway, know a little bit more about me. I'm not into big road rage and all of that sort of stuff, but if pushed, I don't want to be look like a pansy. You know what I mean? We then move on to thank you so much, by the way. Salute LFC for that question. Marvellous questions. Absolutely great. Love it. Then we get to Seb's place. He's put, great as always, Dal. Bit late this week, super busy at work. But thanks again to you and Denny for your voice acting. It was perfect for my video. Cheers. And oh my God, my pleasure, matey. It was funny because I didn't do too many takes. You know, I read it once, then I did a run through recording, listened to it back, and then did the final recording, and all done on my phone, really. And I thought, I've got a newer phone, it should pick up okay. And watching your video, it sort of like was not bad. Normally I'd cringe at something that's got me in it, because I don't think of myself as having like a distinct voice, like a Tom Baker, who's got a very distinct voice. You instantly tell it's him, or Richard Burton. But that's why I liked the contrast with Denny, because his accent comes through, and that it reminded me of, I think I said it last week, I said it reminded me of That's Life, when they used to have these presenters read out viewers' questions or statements. It adds a little bit of difference to a video. I mean, if you'd have read it out yourself, it wouldn't have worked so well. So no, thank you to be a part of it. I love collaboration. Collaborations to me are brilliant. Well, just to be asked, and B, because they're fun. And C, you feel wanted, needed. See that thing again? Always comes out. So so thank you so much for that one, Seb. Absolutely brilliant. Then we get to Martroid, and he says, saw this come up in my feed early yesterday, but thought I'd save it for today. Good stuff as per usual, mate. I caught the first couple of hours of the live stream with Al last night before I passed out, and then was chuffed to catch Bill Harbison, John Hare, and the Lamasoft guys this morning. The question you asked, Jeff, were excellent, Del. I would watch these guys speak all day, every day. Man, I'm such a fanboy. And you and me both. Oh, my God. Mainmeister openly admits he's been asked after Jeff Minter for years. I thought, and I told him, maybe it's worth going for him again for the charity, because we met him at the Zap. I think it was somebody else that actually coaxed him to try again. Not me. Like I said, anybody listens to me, thank you so much. But I don't hold much sway in these matters much with anybody anymore. But I'm just glad it happened. And that guy could waffle on, about the weather, sheep, coding, read out the telephone directory, all of that, and I'd be enthralled. Just listen. He's just got so many anecdotes, so many opinions, so likable. And like I say, when it comes to Jeff Minter, it goes back childhood. You know what I mean? And so from that point of view, you sort of like stand up and, your ears prick up and you listen. You know what I mean? Like a hero, but not a hero in the way that an actor is. This is a person that wrote a game, and at certain points, when I was very young, and I had my VIC-20, I thought he'd written it for me. There was that type of connection that I thought he's made this for me. He's coded it for me. What a game! This is my game. Nobody else's game, just for me. One of those would be Metagalactic Llamas Battle at the Edge of Time. What a game! I mean, it was so. I've mentioned it a million times, and people probably look at me that I'm stupid or silly. But there are certain games that come along that have an influence, and they can be the simplest of concepts. And to me, that was a simple concept done incredibly well and devoid of any sort of like graphics, you know, that of note. You know, they could be stick men in it. They're not, but it's a stick llama of a sort. It's the concept, the addictiveness of the game. I could put that on and I could go through 10 games in about 5 minutes because I'm, you know, not being fantastic. That and the randomness of how you fire in the game. But it was wonderful. And if it was on, I'd usually play it for hours before my eyes went skewy and my ears just only ever heard sound effects. So marvelous times, you know, absolute marvelous times. Thank you very much, Martroid, for that question. We get to Paul Patrick. Thanks, Dell. Enjoyed listening to this and also the charity live stream with Mainmeister. With the news that Nestle are stopping production of Caramac, are there any chocolate bars, confectionery products from the past that you miss and would like to see come back? It's crazy that people are now selling Caramac bars on eBay at massively inflated prices after this news. Yes, and I saw that on the news that they had an interview with some of the people at Nestle and said why it was being discontinued, which was lack of sales specifically, which is a sign of the times. I mean, it's got no cocoa in this bar. It's absolutely just caramel. And it's sort of like a Milky Bar type thing. It was never my favourite chocolate bar. I know that it's got its fans. It was one of those ones that my mum would buy me and I'd go, have I done something wrong? Why has this not got no chocolate on it? You know, those are just things that as a kid you thought of, you know, because if somebody gave you a Milky Bar kid, you thought you'd done something wrong. You know what I mean? Where's the Twixes? Where's the Mars bars? Why have I got this? But to some, Caramac is like their number one. It's a shame that those don't have enough people, you know, to buy it. But what you have to understand is they also make it for inclusion in other chocolate bars. So they'll still be manufacturing the process that makes the Caramac because it appears in other chocolate bars done by Nestle. But your question says, what are the chocolate bars or products of the past that I miss? My dad worked for Kraft Jacob Suchard, which basically used to just be Kraft General Foods. And they made sweets, as well as custard powder and coffee powder. And they did a product called Space Dust, or Stardust. I can't quite remember if it's Space or Stardust. It was like popping candy, right? It came in a little packet, different flavours. You put it on your tongue and it'd crackle. Now, I know my dad was in the desserts packing thing, so the sweet confectionery section of the factory was also open to him. And they have a shop, and you could buy your coffee cheap and all of that, and they'd bring me back some of this stuff. It was brilliant. But apparently they only made it for a couple of years. I think there was some disagreement, not on the manufacturing of it. It was the fact that some people were just pouring it all in their mouth and burning the inside of their tongue. I think they put a disclaimer on it eventually, but it was not their number one seller, and I think it was discontinued quite quickly. I love that. I thought it was brilliant. I think you still get popping candy in Dairy Milk chocolate bars. I think they do it with this. It's like a Dairy Milk chocolate bar, and it's got shaped marshmallows bits in it with bits of caramel, but also it's got bits of that popping candy. And when you put it in your mouth, you can feel the jelly sort of like melting, the marshmallows just spongy, and that crackling sensation that you get. Yeah, I think it's in one of those chocolate bars. So it's nice to know that it's still around. Brilliant. Just not in the powder form that I used to have. Now, Chocolate bars I miss. I miss picnics. Don't think it was too long ago that Picnic went away. Topic definitely did. There's a sort of like a similarity with those first two products in the fact that I like peanuts and I like raisins. There are certain fruits that I don't like in chocolate. Because we used to get at Christmas these sort of like jellied sweets. You know, they looked like half tangerine orange halves, but they were actually made of jelly, and they had lemon and lime and all of this sort of stuff. And if you eat those with all sugar all over them, tasted like crap. But little bits of jelly inside chocolate sort of like does it for me. It's quite nice. There was a chocolate bar called Time Out. I remember that. Like that. That was a nice one. Oh, here's one going back. Banjo bars or banjo chocolate bars. They were nice. I think the reason that one failed was too many of that type of chocolate bar was around. Wafers, like Kit Kats and all of those sort of things. So, yeah, that one didn't last too long. And I think if you look at sweets as things that are just come and go, when I was a child, we used to get little animal-shaped chocolates, like Taz. I remember that. Freddo the Frog, Animal Bar, those sort of things. I think mothers knew that you were being ripped off with those because they cost something like 8 or 10 pence, and you got something like 4 pence worth of chocolate. You might as well have spent the extra 10 pence and got yourself a bloody Kit Kat or something, right? But they did keep kids quiet, and they kept me quiet. I used to love them, Freddo the Frog and all of those. I think that one's still around, though, Freddo the Frog. I can't think of any others. I think Fuse was one. A Fuse bar. I remember those. They were nice. But again, chocolate to somebody who's quite hefty is a difficult question to ask, because most people will think that the reason that you're heavy is because all you eat is sweets, specifically chocolate. And if it isn't sweets, it's chips. Fat, you must eat bags and bags and bags and bags of chips, and that's why you are as you are. Not true. By the way, obviously it's a part of it, but a lot of it can be that you comfort eat because you're bullied. But we don't want to end on an unhappy memory, and the fact that Karamak is going is unhappy, and so is bullying. Talking about bullying, so we'll go past that. But what a fantastic question. Thank you, Paul. And yeah, sad day when something is discontinued. Something has been going as long as that. I think it was 69 years, was somebody said? Or was it 70? I think it was 69. So rest in peace, Karamak. Thank you so much. Brilliant comment and question. Thank you. Salute. David's retro games played badly. He said he missed the live stream. Hope it went well. I was keeping him company at work as usual. Wish I had kept all my old phones, especially the early ones. Yeah, it's a bit of a hoard of me. I keep all my old phones to remind me what I used to use, to show that I keep care of things, I mean, there's no point keeping a phone that's scratched to hell. Although maybe there is. You can restore them. But for me, it's what I remember of that product. And like I say, there was a Sony flip phone that I had, which was a Sony ZX5 or something like that, which was at the time no bigger than a credit card. And it really, really was my favourite phone. In fact, it probably, if If I think back, it is my favourite phone. It had a jog dial on it. Oh, it was gorgeous. You know, flip. What could what could you not like about it? You know, it was brilliant. Christmas special. I actually really enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy one. Yeah, wasn't too bad. They did that last year, didn't they? Yeah, that was good. I'm back. Had a massive power cut at work. I wouldn't have known. Thanks, mate. Started writing this 3 hours ago. Bloody hell. That's horrible when that happens, when you get power cuts. Great collection of films there, mate. As always, I enjoyed the trailers. Thank you. Yeah, I mentioned it, and I think it's you that mentioned it at the end of your comments, actually, each week. It's one of my favourite bits. I like showing the trailers. Fun. Okay, so we move on and we get to Denny. Oh, my God. Prepare for the essay. By the way, thank you so much, David, for your comments. Brilliant. Here we go with Denny, one of my favourites. Definitely pays attention with everything I write. My God. So here we go. Hello, my friend. I can hear his accent, you know, in my head when I'm doing this. Hello, my friend. As always, hope you and your mother are well. Great to catch up again, and I apologise. As you know, I couldn't attend the 12-hour stream as I was working a 12-hour stint myself. Pissed that I missed Jeff Mintner. What will come of the COVID inquiry? I'll tell you, nothing. They will cover up each other's sins and no prosecutions will take place. I loved fireworks as a kid. We all headed around my nan's with all the other relations. Everybody bought their own stuff and together had a full night of fireworks. These days, they should really be confined to big displays put on by councils in different regions because of safety reasons, and animals have an absolute nightmare with the bangs that stress them out. Yeah, I think I pretty much said that myself, Denny. I'm glad you're of the same opinion. I remember, though, and I don't know if I mentioned this last week, that sometimes my father couldn't afford fireworks. Couldn't afford to take us to a display either. Or he'd be working a shift pattern that wouldn't allow it. And he'd buy what they call indoor fireworks. And oh my God, if anybody hears that word, indoor fireworks, knows exactly where I'm coming from. They were like a chemistry kit. You had a little sort of like sponge thing with 2 bits of paper either side, and you'd get one of these sort of like incense sticks, so nothing caught on fire. And you'd put the incense stick at the end of that piece of paper, and it would turn into a snake. It would go stretch out, and then it would stop, and that would be the firework finished, right? For that one firework. When you picked it up, it was like charcoal. So it broke, it snapped and smashed, and it just turned into grey powder everywhere. Bloody mess. And the other fireworks, you know, that were in there were equally as bad. You know, sparkles, you know, stuff that reacts through heat without causing sort of like hot ashes that would cause a fire inside. Awful stuff. Indoor fireworks. I don't even know if they do them anymore. Do they do those anymore? Don't know. Bloody awful, though. You carry on. Love the new headset, but it's absolutely amazing watching a film in 3D. Oh, headset, right. The Meta 3. Yeah. So I love the new virtual reality headset. It's absolutely amazing watching a film in 3D. By the way, I bet I'm one of many who would like to listen to a movie review from yourself. Yeah, I did mention that, and I've been toying with that idea. I've done things for games, and I've played games live, and I've done this blog, and I've done statues and all that sort of stuff. When it comes to the films, I am conscious that I just show you the cover and then do a trailer without giving you any insight into when I first watched that film, what memories I have of it, what it's about, how it was shot, all of that sort of stuff. And there is a number of films in my collection where I know so much about it. You know, I even know what grade of film they used, you know, and what years and what that grade of film was like in that particular era, you know, like 1972, 73, 74. You know, things like film grade perf 4 or perf 2. Um, and why they used it, you know, costs and stuff like that. So yeah, I could do that, and I'm thinking about it, but I've got another little project which I also ran past you, Denny, that you know I'm very, very excited about. I'm not going to mention too much about it now. It will be coming out. And I've got a number of people that I've talked to about it, and they've all agreed, yes, they'd like to be involved. So it is a collaboration thing. Watch this space. It'll happen hopefully before Christmas. We'll see. Love the chat about the two-tone ska music. It's definitely a sound of an era and very political. My favourite song has to be Walking in the Sunshine by Bad Manners. Always play it on the first day of summer. Can't believe it was released in 1981. Great times. Selector. The specials and the beat were others I listened to. Mirror in the Bathroom, Geese Comfrey is another top tune. Yeah, I'm not going to start singing. But yeah, they do bring back happy memories. I think it's because that music started to become popular at a time where I was leaving primary school and going to secondary school. And when you meet the big kids, they're all listening and talking about the latest stuff that's on top of the pops, or they did when I was, because it was the 80s. And great memories come back when you start thinking about it. There are some bad memories as well, because what you got to remember is if you were a portly or bigger person when you were at school, then basically someone like Buster Bloodvessel would be something that you'd be compared to, or Roland in Grange Hill, or Billy Bunter from the books. You know, they were ones that you tried to shy away from, or not even know they existed, so that you could diffuse the question. Hey, look, there's Buster Bloodvessel. I'd go, who? Who are you talking about? You know, they'd laugh and giggle, you'd walk away, diffused. You know, if you knew who that character was and you got angry about it and somebody called you Buster Bloodvessel and you started a fight, who wins? No one. So, you know, you learn this as you get older, I suppose. You mentioned Tommy Cooper and his death on the stage. My old man literally thought it was part of the act. Even in his dying moments, people were still wiping the tears from their eyes with laughter. Sadly, after the commercial break, they were wiping the tears for the loss of the man who literally made people laugh by just a look at the camera. And what more can you say other than those words are probably just about sum it all up. I remember it well. He slumped back. I remember the credits coming on. I remember then the announcement that he'd died on stage. My dad loved Tommy Cooper, and from that point of view, I watched an awful lot of him. And he could make you laugh just looking at the camera. He was. Some people say that he was handsome. Some people say it was his bulkiness that was funny. I think the character was funny to me, more than anything. And a top magician, really. It's a bit like Les Dawson and the piano. You have to know how to play the piano well to play it badly. You need to know what note is just out of harmony to play, because if you just hit random notes, it's you know. And it always play a note that was out of tone, you know, out of that octave range. But the right note, if it was in a different octave, that's hard for me to explain. But I think a lot of people get it. You know, a C of a different range, and not the correct C for the octave you're in. It sounds awkward, but you know it was the right note. So when it comes to magicians doing badly, it's not about just getting the trick wrong. It's about getting it wrong and then correcting it at the end, and then going, how did he do that? Amazing time, with Tommy Cooper. Thank you once again for answering my question. Christmas episodes I watch each year are normally The Twilight Zone, Night of the Mask, both the 1959 and the 85 version. I absolutely adore both and always leave a lump in my throat. Blizzard, an episode from the medical drama ER, is another must-see. Yeah, I remember that one. Remember the snow was coming in and all of the accidents that were happening, yeah. There's another must-see. Very of the Season and a song by Nat King Cole at the end. Films have to be Scrooge with Alistair Sim, the best interpretation of the film. It's a Wonderful Life is a cracker. Box of Delights is another for the Yuletide. And of course, the Christmas episodes from Steptoe and Son and the other sitcoms of that era. Yeah, I think we all have our favourites, ones that will not become boring no matter how long you live. I love Scrooge with Alistair Sims. It's a classic. But I equally like Scrooge with Bill Murray, which tells the same story but in a modern way. It doesn't always work. There's a lot of Christmas crap out there. A lot of it. In fact, they've started showing it now. In fact, Sky has now, I think, got a Christmas channel, as well as a Christmas channel in its films section. So they're showing TV stuff, TV Christmas stuff on one channel, and they're showing the Christmas films, including classics, on another. You won't be able to avoid it. The adverts have started. Marks and Spencer's and Lidl and Sainsbury's have all got their adverts out now. Debenhams, all trying to outdo each other with CGI and all sorts of stuff to get your money. If we ain't got the money, you ain't getting it, is how I look at that. And a lot of us this year haven't got the money. So put as much money as you want into a Christmas advert, it'll probably fall flat for you. But thanks for trying to make us have an enjoyable Christmas by looking at something funny. You made me laugh when you said I sounded like a voiceover from That's Life on Seb's video. I'll add that program to my wanted list. That's Life with Esther Ranson. I mentioned it earlier. Do a Google. You'll find it. Right, questions for this week. Do you have any releases on Laserdisc you still want to collect? And should 8K releases hit the shops, will you collect those too? And is there a price you won't go beyond? Oh, that's a dangerous set of questions there. When it comes to Laserdisc, it is a dead format, but I still love them. I don't actively go looking on eBay for them because I tend to find that the ones that are up for sale are very cheap or badly kept. And I've got them already in a format like DVD, Blu-ray or 4K. Saying that, there are ones that I got rid of that I wish I never had. Ones I got rid of which I wish I still had. But I need to re-look at those books and go, do I want to buy them back? Because I still have my Laserdisc player. It still plays. It's still a very nostalgic format for me. A big part of my life was Laserdiscs. But I don't actively look. So I just want to say thank you in the fact that you had some Laserdiscs and you've sent them to me free of charge. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I will watch every single one of them. And I'll probably show them in my blog when they arrive. I believe you sent them, so they should be coming this week. There's a good selection of them in there. Some will obviously bring back memories for me. Great question. Brilliant, that one. then you go on to say, should 8K releases hit the shops, will you collect those too? Probably. It's what comes first when it comes to 8K. They obviously are filming now in 8K, and they downgrade them, yeah, because of space and all sorts of stuff. So that means that we still get them at 4K, but it was an 8K filming. An 8K TVs are out there, but they're not in the general public. They're mostly used, I think, for display in major broadcasters, like the BBC have got an 8K TV, ITV have got an 8K TV. I think certain science museums have got 8K TVs to show off the technology. And eventually that's exactly how 4K started. So it's watch that space type thing, because if I'm a collector, then of course, and if I'm still collecting, I will then be buying 8K versions. But of course, my eyesight gets worse every year. What's the point? So you have to watch that space with that one. And is there a price you won't go beyond? I would say for that answer that nothing is out of reach if you want it hard enough and if you've got the money for it. Now, in my head, I do it all the time. I go down Amazon, and I go down Zavvi and HMV and the releases, and I look at the price and I go, is that worth it? Is that worth it? Is that worth it? So you have to understand that I do that figure in my head every time I go to those sites, and I go to those sites once every day, generally. So I hope that answers that question, really, in the fact that I probably will, because I still consider myself a collector, and I still think I'll be collecting into my 80s. So I should think 8K would be around by that still then. Thanks, mate. As always, a very enjoyable blog to comment on. Best wishes to your mother. No, thank you. Salute, sir. And then we get to gaming since the 70s. Let's see what he puts. Hi, Dale. Oh, my salute to you. Steve, absolutely wonderful. You do such great work. I hope you continue to do such great work. You bastard. Sorry. That's me play acting around again. Do apologise. Hi, Dale. Sorry about this. It's been a shit week for me again. What with problems with things and my mum's memory getting very worrying, etc., I've not got around to writing a comment. Great blog as usual, and thanks for answering my question. I don't have much to say right now, as I've so much on my mind. Apologies for that. And I not thought of a question for you, so I'll just pull one out at the top of my head right now. So here's a question. What's the most uncomfortable and odd place you've slept? Again, sorry for the low effort comment. Take care and love to your mum. Oh no, matey, wonderful. Just knowing you watching is enough for me. But I do love your comments, and long may you send me some more. You mentioned your mum and losing memory. That's one of the big things that are going on with me at the moment, and maybe that shows you a greater appreciation of some of the battles I'm having at home. Not battles, but they're things that you've got to work around, like mentioning things several times and all of that sort of stuff without getting angry and frustrated, along with deafness and a number of other things that are going on with people of a certain age, like your mum and dad, if they're still around. So yeah, totally understand that. So the question, what's the most uncomfortable and odd place you've slept? Well, obviously I've slept at other people's houses. I've slept on the floor. slept in a bunk bed when I went round my mates because I've lost my key, and that was the only spare room that I could sleep on. But I have slept outside in a tent at festivals. I remember I had an argument with one of my girlfriends back in my 20s, and I was shouting up at her window to let me in. She wouldn't let me in. She was there, and I slept in the hedge. Yeah, it was bloody cold. That still doesn't give me the greatest appreciation for people that are homeless. They're in a different situation, and I found that a totally uncomfortable night. But I was drunk, so I didn't feel it as bad. I can't imagine what it would be like living the lay of the land every day of your life just because I slept outside once. Unusual places I've slept. I've slept on long coach trips, long train trips, on the plane. They're not unusual. Sleeping outside probably isn't unusual, but it's the one that you wouldn't expect from someone like me. I've never slept in a pool, like a swimming pool, or on a piece of swimming pool furniture, like those rubber rings and things like that. Good question. I hope I've given enough examples of where I have slept, and I hope that one of them probably made you laugh. But I don't think I've slept really in an unusual place. I've never slept at the National History Museum or a science museum or at the zoo. Or if I did, I was quite in my rights to sleep because I was probably 18 months old. The National Safari Park, Windsor Safari Park. I might have been 18 months old and probably fell asleep then. Thank you so much for that. And I think I've got one more comment. Okay. It's from Down the Rabbit Hole. He says, I'm coming in late as always, Del. Hope you read this before your blog. I admit I hang on to old tech myself, partly nostalgia, but partly no one would give me a penny for it, so I might as well keep it in my personal museum, I guess. I completely agree with David's retro gaming that I'm also done with Star Wars. Haven't bothered to watch anything recently, as I just hear the reviews. Each series these days is crap and meant to sell toys. Yeah, it's sad when that happens, though, isn't it? You want to watch something because you're a big fanboy, or you watched it and it was a big part of your life, and then someone's coming along and ruining it by doing a subpar TV show or a film. But then I also think to myself, is it subpar? Is it because I'm an old fuddy-duddy that's looking at things from a nostalgia perspective where it's not aimed at the likes of me anymore? Disney don't want to enlighten and make people happy for people that are old, even if they have the money that they want to take out of your pockets. They want the new people that are up and coming, the people that would see wonderment in it, because they've got them then for the next 60 years. I ain't going to be around in 60 years, so what you have to understand about it is I'm just the wrong audience. So is it a subpar product? I think it still is. But ask somebody in their teens and they'll be saying it's the best thing since sliced bread, I should think. Probably need to look at the stats on that a little bit. Speaking of grumbling about just selling toys, I've still got that Amazon catalogue, considering using it to wipe my bum. Now, shouldn't you say arse? Canadian. I'm curious to hear what you think of the Quest 3 and how many games support its better graphics. My old PlayStation VR 1 is on its last legs, So I was thinking of upgrading the PlayStation VR 2, but Sony appears to have lost interest in supporting the PlayStation VR 2. So maybe a Quest 3 should be the way for me to go. What do you think? What a bloody good topic. I don't know if anybody can see it, but my PSVR 1 headset is that white little band that's down there. So I've still got the PSVR 1. I haven't got the PSVR 2 for the PlayStation 5. And the reason I bought the Oculus 2 or MetaQuest 2 was purely on the basis that I wanted to watch 3D films. And it was standalone. You didn't need to have it connected to a PC, and you didn't need to have it anywhere else. So the thing about it was at the right price and the right time in my life for me to purchase one. The MetaQuest 3 came along, and I thought to myself, why not? The 2 could be then used as a jailbroken device. You know, I could not connect it to to Oculus anymore, wipe it, watch films, play games on it, where the MetaQuest 3 would then become my main device that isn't hacked, and use it that way. From your perspective in your question, the best thing I can advise you to do is go round someone who's got one, or buy a second-hand Quest 2 because they're dirt cheap. While people are upgrading to the 3, the Quest 2 goes down in price. The Quest 3 is no doubt the cutting edge of technology at the moment. It uses mixed reality graphics. So there's now games which use not only your environment, because it's got an actual color lens on the front now. I don't know if I can show you. There's the front. So it's got color megapixel cameras there, which are quite high definition. It almost looks like you're just looking at your room when you activate pass-through. It's what they call pass-through. But it's also got a depth sensor. So basically depth is now used with all 3 in action, plus the sensors, which are there, and tracking. I think there's one there as well. Plus tracking. You now can have things like mixed reality games. So aliens could come smashing through your wall, and it will be your wall because it's your wall that it's scanned. So that's an element. You asked me what the quality is like. The quality is what I was sort of like expecting anyway. The cameras are not perfect. There's still a shimmer. There's still not perfect, as in I'm just looking with my normal eyes at the walls. They are of a lower resolution, but the resolution in each eye is of high definition. It's like 2,600 and something by 1,000 something per eye. So basically, when you've got those in front of your face, it really does look realistic. Games are starting to not use the higher resolution yet, but they're changing their engine because they're they're going back to their old games and putting a patch on for the people that have got the new headset, so that things like shadowing is now being added. So before, you used to have really nice, crisp graphics, but now they've added shadowing. So basically, light sourcing comes into play and gives an extra aim of realism. Perfect example of this is Doom 3 on the VR headset. The resolution is exactly the same. The refresh rate has been knocked down to 90 hertz. It was at 120 hertz. But if you do 120 hertz and shadowing, that's too much for the processor at the moment. And it's the highest Snapdragon processor you can get at the moment is a Gen 2 of it. So you can imagine can imagine that games are now starting to be re-looked at, and they're deciding what's the enhancements they want to use. Now, the high points for me for the Meta 3 is that I now got my own SP for my eyes, the distance. And it's now on a dial, so I can dial it in instantly. And that means anybody that wants to borrow my headset and put it on, they can do it themselves as well. And it'd be very quick to interchange between us both. Obviously, it's got a higher resolution. The sound is higher. Number of things. And I definitely recommend a Meta 3 if you've got the cash. But if you've never tried virtual reality other than a PlayStation 1, then I would probably say you might want to jump to the Meta Quest 2 or Oculus, 2 before buying the 3. I don't think you'd lose too much money if after a month you find this as amazing as I do. It's the best thing since sliced bread. Sell your Oculus 2 that you just bought for virtually the same price. No harm, no foul. Just do what's right for you, really, in a sense on that one. If nothing else, it would be a great way to watch 3D films, as you mentioned. I've enjoyed several films, and that might be a selling point for me. Oh, God, it is. Watching films in VR is an experience. My 3D films are selectable because it's got a slider switch that says 2D or 3D, and when in 3D it takes a picture that's called side by side, two distinctly different images, and overlays them over the top, and you get 3D, stereoscopic 3D. So yeah, definitely watch your films in 3D. Definitely would be interested if in you reviewing the Quest 3 overall, as in the library of titles, and if there are a lot that increase the image compared to the Quest 2 version. Take care for now. That's going to be coming. So I'm going to do a review of the Quest 3. It's just that this week I've been very tired with the Mainmeister charity, and I've done a number of things for my channel that I haven't, and for others that I haven't got round to it yet. And with that, we come to the end of the questions. Thank you so much for bearing with me with that. Absolutely marvellous. Found that really enjoyable. Just going to take a small break now, get some drink down me, and then we'll be coming back for Watched on YouTube. And we get to the bits about what I've watched on YouTube. So the two main staying points are This Week in Retro and Techbone, which, as you know, is what I watch each week. They were really good this week. I really enjoyed them. This Week in Retro had the announcement that the Amiga is getting a larger version. It is dubbed the Maxi, as they always seem to do. Little is known, but there is a yearly timeline now on their releases, and there are some that are just called a new mini, a new mini, a new mini, which doesn't tell you whether it's a Commodore product or something else. It's just nice that retro games that make those particular devices, I'm going to call them devices rather than consoles, are still producing and still have a market for them. A lot of people appreciate them and love them. So I'm looking forward to that. Then there was mention that efforts to preserve gaming is failing. It was sort of like a melancholy article really on that one. I've always been big on preservation. I do think that we do it wrong. I do think that over a certain period of time, stuff should become public domain and quicker because it's technology, because technology moves so fast. So where a book might not become public domain for 100 years, that shouldn't be the same rule set for games. If they're not being sold anymore, give them out. They're a part of our history, part of our childhood, and we have bought them once before. So, it's a difficult subject, but I do believe, preservation needs to be looked at. And then they had a person on who does code stuff on, and he was encouraging people to continue coding. It's the way we move forward. So very interesting that. And then Techmoan showed something that was rather unique. In Japan, they make these little animatronic speakers. It's the best way to call them, and a central control hub for them. What am I called? What am I trying to say here? Well, the device is called the Jammer Meets Kenwood Band. Okay, what it is it's got a little cartridge that's got music on it, about 25 tracks, and they're of an 8 or 16-bit stuff. So it sounds like a little bit like computer music, like coming out of a snares or similar type thing. And you've got 5 speakers and a guest. So on the back of this, it's got a little RJ45 or network cable that comes out of the speaker and goes into the back of this device, much like a surround sound system. But they're individual band instruments. So there's a piano, a saxophone, drums, that sort of thing, a double bass, whatever's needed. You plug them in the back. When the music plays, the little characters play their instruments. So the double bass moves it from side to side like this. The piano's got the bloke playing his hands. The drums, you can see them doing all of this. And it only plays them when the voice on the cartridge says, play the piano, play the saxophone, or whatever. And they speed up and slow down as needed. Now, it is a gimmick. It is something that's very niche, but I can imagine people getting big joy out of them. Now, they're not. The trouble is, they're expensive. Even one of the speakers, they don't make it anymore, and they were only really out in America and in Japan. They only made them for a certain amount of years, and so one piece now can fetch over $1,000. Which surprised me. I didn't think it'd be quite that high. I mean, I thought a couple of £100, yeah. 1,000? No. They expanded this line to have vocals later on. So they had this little woman person with a mic stand there. And when, of course, the vocal came in, which would have been a sample on the cartridge, it would make the singer sway the microphone or move forward or turn. It's hard to explain, and that's why I want to not give too much of a description and to urge you to look at Techmoan's website, YouTube channel, should I say, and watch them because they're brilliant. And in fact, every single one of these, it's my encouragement that if you want to see something different, go to these channels. So LGR, another favourite of mine, I don't watch every week, but I watch an awful lot of, did a review of City Skyline 2. And this was interesting to me because I'm a big SimCity fan. I played City Skylines 1 and found it to be almost identical, to be quite honest. It has a lot more downloadable content. It was a much more stable thing than SimCity Online ever was through Origin's website. Which had a disastrous start, by the way, when it was released. And all I can say is City Skylines 2 has come out with a mixed reaction because of some bugs or some things that they've enhanced that they didn't want enhancing, and some other things that should be enhanced and are not. But overall, it is better than the first one, much higher property and quality than the first release of the game, and it's encouraged me to think about whether I should buy that game, because I used to love city building. I used to love zoning out commercial and industrial and residential areas and being the mayor and having catastrophes occur and controlling the fire brigade and the police and so forth. It was brilliant. So, yes, I'm umming and ahhing, but I think I probably will get that. It's Chloe Hill is one that I came up in my stream, and it's not one that I'd watch again, but she had a video out called the Picard Legacy Collection Unboxing. Now, Picard is a TV series that I've watched, and they've released a £200 collection. Knowing this, like I did, I wanted to know what the inside was like, and I'm glad I didn't order it. I don't think it's worth £200. It's all Blu-ray, for a start. It's all of the Star Trek Next Generation movies, for which, there are not that many. Seasons 1 to 3 of Picard, and we now know that Picard Season 3 is the last season, so it does end this collection, and it's why the Legacy set makes sense. And then you've got all of the Next Generation episodes. Put all that together, and it's a massive amount of discs. When you open it up, it's full of fodder, and the casing that they've used for the releases is the economy plastic casing, which I don't like. Really hate those. You only get those if they're the only ones that are available now. They should have been in a much more deluxe set. Maybe even be a mixed media between Blu-ray and 4K, being as the films are in 4K. So I can understand it. It's all conformed into 4K, into Blu-ray, which makes perfect sense, because there's no, I can't play these because I haven't got a 4K player yet. So I understand it, but filling it with fridge magnets, stuff like that, nah. And £200, ridiculous. I wouldn't buy it at that price. No. Worth a watch, just to see what you get for £200 these days. Near Mint Condition has announced quite a few Marvel omnibuses and DC omnibuses over the last 2 weeks. So this week has been very prominent because there's been some major announcements for 2024 and 2025 even. Always great to watch Omar do his set for announcements. He'll show you the covers, he'll tell you what's in it, he'll tell you the price, he'll tell you the estimated date. All of that is in there. Brilliant watch. And then you've got a really good analogy by a channel called Digital Foundry. That's Digital Foundry. We know that there's a new Mario game that's just come out for the Switch called Mario Wonder, and I've bought it. It's over there, in fact. Might be able to get it. There we go. So it's Super Mario Brothers Wonder for the Switch. And I knew of it, but Gary Penn on the live stream happened to mention how good it was and how the new Wario was shaping up. He was mentioning how his kids and they like to play certain types of games, and they have competitions, as a family. And it made me go, oh God, I haven't bought that yet, and I've got most of the Mario games. Now, Mario isn't for everybody, but this guy wanted to know why it's worth buying and what difference there is. And he came to the conclusion that what's been happening in the Mario world the last couple of years is they've added too much what they call inertia. So if you jump Mario onto a block and he runs slightly more, he generally falls off. And that is a game mechanic which a lot of people don't like. If you were to look at Super Mario World, when he falls onto the block, he generally comes to a complete standstill. But what they've done with this one then is add all the keyframes that would be for stopping and all of that sort of stuff are still there. But he stops on a dime, which means that you have to be more accurate with the way you play. They've added a sort of a weight to the game. In a couple of parts of the game, Mario turns into an elephant. When he's an elephant, he is slower and more. He comes across as heavy, which an elephant would be. It's hard to explain, but he showed key frames of how the animation works between the last version and the new version, and all of those key frames for when he jumps up in the air and lands are still there. But it's the inertia part that's been sort of like subdued, and is such a great enhancement that it's now something that you couldn't live without now with future games. Brilliant analogy, loved it. Certainly added food for thought for how platform games have adapted and have been changed through the years. So then we get to some of the film stuff that I've watched, and as you know, I've watched a number of these. A lot of them are my friends now. We've got Rock God. He's been very prolific this week. My God, man, he just does not stop. He's had some great news about his wife. So I'm so happy for him. He works so hard to entertain us that basically, and even something that I've not got a remote interest in, I'll watch and I'll get something out of it. You learn from people like this. I'm sort of like a person who doesn't hate an awful lot. There will always be enjoyment in something that I don't really have a vested interest in. So it's you do need to sometimes get out of that block of just wanting stuff that you know you're going to enjoy and watch something new. It's almost like going to a film in a cinema that you've never heard, and then all you've got is the title and who's in it in your head, and then getting the enjoyment of watching a story unfold in front of you. It's the best way to do things. So he's been very prolific, and he did a Witness and Creep show unboxing and retrospective review. He did the same with the film Violent Night, and he's also got a son who plays in a band. He did a review of their single. So all great stuff. Then you got Playtendo guy. Now he's got a big PS5 collection as well as a big film collection, and he went through 35 of them. My God, 35 PlayStation 5 games. If I was to total up how much that would cost, wow, just impressive. That's all I got to say on that, because I'm very choosy now when it comes to games. I don't have an awful lot of time for them, but I still always talk myself into buying some, because I always get to the point where I go, at Christmas, what am I going to do? And I start to think ahead and go, oh, I'll get this now and I'll play it at Christmas. Doesn't always work out, but as a whole, it does. And it gives me also something to look forward to. So yes, I do that an awful lot. Then we get Scott, the movie critic. He does a weekly chat sort of like panel on a Friday, which I watched this week, and it was brilliant. And he does other subsequent videos, because he's not just a channel where it's just all chat. He does vinyl review, he does film reviews, he does pickups, unboxing. So he did an October pickups, and he showed all the films that he's bought in October, and it's great. I like that, because there's probably titles there that I wouldn't have even thought of myself. I can see who distributed it and then go look for it myself if it's something that I think I want. Brilliant. Let's Get Kicking Movies has sadly put a sidestep to the chat panel type thing and has decided to go in the other direction of doing a few more videos in regards to film reviews, stuff that's going on and whatever. And he's done a couple this week. He did a couple of film reviews. I think he did the film Let's have a look. Yeah, I didn't actually put what films he reviewed, but I'm trying to think of one that was there. Thanksgiving, I think, was there. That was a film that's just come out. That was great, and it was a press release for him. But he also talked about, just silly things like Greggs have now started to bring out their festive bakes for the season, so you've now got Christmas pastry slices to eat. All that sort of stuff is just covered by this one guy that is passionate about telling his friends and people who watch his channel what's exactly going on out in the world at the moment in regards to physical media and everything. Brilliant. Must watch. We've got Let's Get Kicking Movies, who I do some collaboration work with. We did a watch along of 2 films. We watched Blood Risen and Prison. Prison was an underrated gem. That was marvelous, about a character that was the last person that was electrocuted at the prison. Is still a spirit at the prison, and they reopened the prison because of, well, how it is at the moment, lack of space and putting people in certain prisons you can't do. So they reopen old ones and get them back up to spec. So that was an interesting one, definitely worth it. And then you've got the Wednesday movie chat with Playtendo Guy. As I said, he did a PlayStation 5 video, but he also did his normal chat. So, lots and lots of stuff there that if you're into your film, into physical media, definitely go and check those out. I don't think you'll be disappointed, to be quite honest. Films are something that you need to be aware of, really, if you like watching good stories in an entertaining format. And then we get to your YouTube stuff. So that's the people that have commented and so forth, and stuff that are like stay points now of my week. And we start off with Down the Rabbit Hole. He did a review of something called the TRTL pillow, which is a traveling pillow, neck pillow. Very interesting product. It's not something that I do an awful lot. I don't go on planes and trains too much. Okay, but you wrap it around your neck, and it's got a side that's sort of like pokes up. It's almost like a neck scarf with a slant. And what it's supposed to do is, if you start to fall asleep, you'll gently caress your head against the slide that's raised, and it won't feel so bad, and you won't have a crick in your neck. Happens to me an awful lot at the moment. Watching TV is me falling asleep, and I get a pain in my neck because I've slept upright. So that was good, definitely worth a watch. And then he's got his steering wheel that he wants to keep trying to play retro games on, and this time it was the turnout of Burnout Point of Impact on the GameCube. Great title. I had the Burnout series, loved it. I loved Burnout Paradise, which you can still get. He played it with his steering wheel, and of course it's much more favourable than other videos that he's done recently. And that's because I think the steering wheel obviously is suited to that sort more 3D view or the inside of the car. So that's great. Keep doing that work Down the Rabbit Hole, and keep pushing your stuff. I mean, your stuff is of exceptional production value. So long may that I keep mentioning your stuff. Then we are going through the 70s. Our friend Steve, we mentioned before, he did a best typing ever, which I mentioned a bit last week. I did manage to watch it all now. And it was more a magazine review, like I was saying. It was a shame. And I'd like to have known a bit more about this typing. But it was very interesting because you get a different insight other than, other people's YouTube channels like Mainmeister and so forth. They're not bad. They're not terrible. It's just that it's nice to have a different perspective on things. So definitely worth a watch. Then we got Robert's Retro Gaming. Brilliant. He's doing a new series now, Minecraft play called Terra Incognita. That was interesting to watch. Slightly different take from his normal Minecraft. So a nice, another appreciative look at a classic game. And then, of course, he did some 8-bit games. He played Spin Dizzy on the Atari, BMX Simulator. Some of these games were on the Commodore 64, so it was nice to see what the Atari one looked like. So all in all, some great stuff there, and I think he brought out one video per week. So there's 5-6 of these videos for you to watch. Definitely worth it. Then you get to Seb's place. As I said before, his production values have gone well up, and he started to do a retrospective of a game called Alcatraz Harry. Now, Alcatraz Harry was covered on Steve's channel a couple of weeks ago, so it wasn't anything really new, but it was interesting to see somebody had read the instructions and then played it. A lot more information was portrayed, both fantastic videos in their own right. One goes into a bit more depth, the other one goes more into let's show you the game and the playability. Brilliant. Definitely worth a watch. 20th Century Gaming did a couple of streams. The most prominent one that I saw was Ocean Games Part 1 of 3. Speaks for itself, really. It's just Ocean were licensed product makers. They did games for a huge amount of the 80s. Moved into cartridges for consoles as well. Well-established company. Definitely watch that video. And NFC did a blog. Yes, so he does a blog each week. He's done one for this week. He talked about impersonations, a football roundup, and of course mentioned the charity stream. So that's definitely worth a mention for this week. And just to end on Mainmeister, who I did the charity stream with. As I said before, so honoured to be involved in that. He's so much more than just charity, though. He does lots of stuff for gaming. He had lots of actors, or should I say coders of games on in our stream. And he also interviewed Robert earlier as well on his Nice and Nasty podcast. And that is it. That is everything for what I've watched and what I've seen. So let's get to the stuff where we talk about what I've bought this week. So we'll change the camera. And we'll just present these to the screen. Some of these, all of these have arrived this week. Some of them I've got to see through digital format. So the first one we've got is American Graffiti. A good title. It is an enhancement over the Blu-ray edition. Not so much, though. There's a lot of interesting articles because it's split people 50-50. The way that things are restored these days is to remove what they call grain. And some grain is there specifically for a reason, to give it age or, many other reasons. But in this particular instance, it was just very, very informative. Very, very, very informative in regards to knowledge that was portrayed and entertainment given. Yeah, definitely worth a watch. Then we've got Violent Night, which Rock God did an unboxing of. I've got to see the film now, although I haven't opened my own. The reason I haven't opened it is my protective covers hadn't arrived in time, but they now have. I'll show you what a protective cover looks like in my next release. Violent Night is, now that I've watched it, is quite a violent action film. Nothing to do with Santa going around slashing people's throats. No, totally different type of film, worthy of your attention. Now, this is one of those plastic covers that I was talking about. You can see that it's surrounded in a piece of plastic that protects the inside. But this one is Schindler's List, classic tale of the Holocaust, and Oskar Schindler. And the last but not least is Doctor Who, The Underwater Menace. I buy all the Doctor Who steelbooks because I'm a collector, but also it's the animated sequences that have got us on this one, because like any early Doctor Who story, it's negligible whether they've actually got all the episodes available. If you haven't got all the episodes, how can you release it? The BBC faced that dilemma a number of years back and decided to animate the missing shows. So if you didn't know that already, I hope that imparts some knowledge. And now we're going to go to media playback. So here we go, and I'm going to get rid of my notes that I was reading out earlier. And you can see I've got the media player all set to go. So you're going to see some trailers of stuff that you saw me show you the box of. And hope you enjoy them. Here we go.
Destruction of the world. The scientists dream of supreme power.
Just one small question. Why do you want to blow up the world?
To lift Atlantis from the sea. Lift it to the sky.
It will be magnificent.
To think that after so long, the great day is at hand. We shall surprise the whole of mankind.
The professor is as mad as a hatter.
Keep away!
No answer. Bang! 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 Bang!
The two young men are at the mine. The girl is still at large, and so is the doctor.
Take them away! Kill those two men! Nothing in the world can stop me now!
These eyes peer out through time, through space, to a land beyond imagination. These are the eyes of the tiger. Follow their gaze back to where legends first began, where fantasy is real and the land of the lost is rediscovered. Journey across the oceans of antiquity to the northern edge of the ancient world. As Sinbad battles with both human
From the depths of the earth, I command you, arise!
and supernatural evil.
Destroy them! Kill Sinbad!
Bewitched him. Let me get the smile from her face!
Filmed in the miracle of Dinorama. Starring Patrick Wayne, Taryn Power, Jane Seymour. From producers Charles H. Schneer and Ray Harryhausen. Come face to face with the prehistoric Trog. See the sorceress bring life to the all-powerful Minotaur.
Eat with the power as only I command you.
See Sinbad battle the saber-toothed tiger, guardian of the secret shrine. Join Sinbad, the greatest of all adventurers, in his biggest adventure of all. Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger.
Name of missing person.
Don't you have this written down somewhere? I've answered it 1,000 times.
Name of missing person, please.
You've been in touch with our embassy down there?
Senator, all they seem to know is that my son is missing.
Date of disappearance.
He's been gone 2 weeks. He could be hurt or tortured.
Time of disappearance.
I look for him everywhere. He's just gone.
vanished. After analyzing all the data, we still come to the conclusion that he must be in hiding.
You know damn well he's not in hiding. Our whole neighborhood saw him picked up by a goon squad.
I don't want to hear any of your anti-establishment paranoia.
Why don't you just go home? I'll find my husband by myself.
Where is he?
He's in the north. He should be out of the country sometime next week.
There's another theory, that your son was picked up by leftists, posing as soldiers.
There are even people who think it may have been his idea to make it look like they're arresting Americans.
They are arresting Americans.
What stupid thing did Charles do?
He was a bit of a snoop.
Your son's a pretty popular guy around here.
Poked his nose around in a lot of dangerous places.
All of a sudden, this place is like a free fire zone. They shoot at you just for being left-handed.
If you had stayed where you belong and paid a little attention to the basics, this never would have happened.
I don't want to fight with you. I just want to get Charlie back.
What kind of world is this?
He said the man must disappear. He knew too much.
Don't you think that's a hell of a statement, especially considering we're here to protect American citizens?
How can I verify that? You can't.
Do you think he's dead?
I'm not going to leave this country till I find my son, alive or dead.
Stole anywhere, in any way. You can tie my hands, you can blindfold me. I just want my boy back.
He's the only child I have.
You ain't driving, are you?
I steer a little, but the ranger do most of the work.
This is my 4th year as a Santa. How about you?
I started the whole damn thing.
It's Christmas!
We decided that you could have one gift.
Early.
What is it?
That is a direct hotline to Santa Claus himself.
I can talk to Santa.
All right, revelers. Welcome to your worst Christmas ever.
Let's go!
You have $300 million in your personal vault. That's what I want for Christmas.
I don't want any trouble, okay? Someone's gonna scooch up that chimney.
Who is he? Because he's not your typical mall Santa.
Santa, are you there? Daddy said you were very busy tonight. My name's Trudy Lightstone. Are you gonna help us, Santa?
Yeah, Trudy.
Santa?
You're on my nice list. Santa Claus is coming to town. Time for some season's beatings.
Who the hell are you?
Boss, what if he really is the real?
No such thing as Santa.
These bad men, they're all on my naughty list. Naughty. That's naughty!
And what do you do to the naughty ones?
I give them a lump of coal.
Where is it?
I gotta watch.
I believe in you, Santa.
Come on. Which one of you did that? Prancer? So unprofessional.
And we come to an end. Well, I really enjoyed that. Violent Night looks like a fun, violent film. Like a sort of like an adult Home Alone with Santa. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And Missing, although not shown as something that as physical media, it actually is coming. It's arriving this week, but I watched it in on TV this week, and such an exceptional cast. Jack Lemmon, story is fantastic. I had to show the trailer for that. And Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, same thing. It was on telly. I happened to be skipping through channels when I couldn't sleep, and it was on, and it's in with my Missing film, where it's coming this week, because it's coming in a sale, and of course whenever there are sales on, they get behind with orders, so I'm expecting it this week. I think everybody's seen Schindler's List. I didn't want to put a downer on too much. Everybody knows what an exceptional film that is. I've got the 30th anniversary steelbook now. If you ever want to see a film that will move you, get that film. The thing about it is, it's such a masterpiece that even if you have a particular view to not watch it, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. That is what I'm trying to say. You can't unsee the film, and it will bring you back every time you watch it, to what was going on. Such an exceptional film. I'm so glad it got made. And that's about it, really. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you all, or should I say speak to you all next week. I do this every week. I don't see any reason why I won't be. And the only other thing that I haven't mentioned really is about my week. So I'll just mention it at the end. Not too bad. Very tired this week after the charity stream, but I managed to download what they call an AA game. So it's not an AAA game. In other words, exceptional high production cost game. But it was RoboCop Rogue City. Lots of reviews have been out this week about it, saying how much fun it is. And have sort of like cut back on saying about its negatives, for which there are quite a few, in regards to its graphics and the not the concept, but the nature of the pacing of the story. Okay. I got it at a very, very cheap price from CD Keys. And basically I've had a ball playing about 8-9 hours of it. Brilliant. I'm looking forward to playing Mario Wonder. That's going to be one of the things that I'm going to be doing shortly. And there might be some more gaming streams. I did go live with RoboCop this week. I did an hour stream, and it seemed to be quite well received. The difficulty with that is that I got to a bit where I thought it was going to be exciting, and it was more the side quests. So you get to see probably more of the boring than the action. But there is some action sequences there, and hopefully you got enjoyment if you did watch it or are about to watch it based on this blog. And with that, I'm going to say salute. All of my friends, thank you very much. Quick mention to Jake, who basically has called me up a couple of times this week to make sure I'm okay. We're discussing some collaborations together as well. We've been thinking about doing some stuff gaming-wise, amongst others. And absolutely an okay week this week. Pretty good. Let's hope we get some more of those. Let's hope it all becomes happy and smiles all the way up till Christmas. And with that, definitely salute. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.